Guess that's life in the big city, huh? They say there's no rest for us. Won't you hit this road with me, shawty? You can stand up in the sunroof, let your head down, let the wind hit your face, and just breathe, breathe, breathe.
Everything, but everything was never enough. My heart, my soul, the good, the bad, all that I have, everything.
What's going on, Commandos? It's your brother Bike Life Commando. Hello, family. I hope everyone's doing well today. I am popping up in here on a Tuesday morning, getting ready for work. I have a late night tonight. I got to do some introductions, what they call meet and greets, right? At my job, I got to meet and greet folks. So, but I wanted to talk to you about choosing the perfect motorcycle for you, or what you may consider the perfect motorcycle. Now, by no means am I an expert at riding motorcycles, and I will not pretend to be. However, in the past 6 or 7 months that I have been riding touring bikes and cruisers, I have an opinion now, right? And, although I've been off the bike for so long before getting back on the ride, I decided that I would compile a list of what I thought may help others who are new like me, trying to figure out what ride they should be looking at. So I compiled a list. But when I first started riding, I got on the Lowrider ST, and I thought that was, because of the way they described it, I thought that was a real touring bike, right? And you talk to some real riders, they'll tell you that touring, man, you can tour on any bike, right? Set it up properly, you can tour anywhere. And I believe that to be true. You can make your bike feel and ride any way you like it to be. But essentially, it's a sports bike. It's a sports cruiser. And my Lowrider ST, basically, here you go, is basically a hooked up sports cruiser, but they call it a touring bike. Me personally, it's a little baby tourer. I like it. It does what it's supposed to do. I could do it. It's agile. I can use it in the streets. I can use it running mountain curves. It's a nice bike. But my Indian Pursuit, however, that's a touring bike. That is a bike meant for over the road, travel far. And I think it was meant to be built for the ride, like in that way. Much like the road glide or the street glide, whatever your preference is. Honda Gold Wings, what have you. And the bigger bikes, your R18s, things like that, the baggers. So you have to consider those. Those are the bikes with the luggage and the space and the size and weight. So you got to consider that as being your touring bike in comparison to something like an RT or a Chief. So on my list I compiled, I got 7 items that I wrote down that I wanted to kind of just run past the new riders in this group, right? Or people who are returning to riding and decide they want to upgrade or get a bigger bike. One of them is assess your riding experience. Now, when I got that 117 over there, I was not experienced. I think it's like a 1800 or 1900 cc vehicle, but it was very comfortable, and I respected the ride. I mean, it wasn't like I was 20 just jumping on a Ninja 1100, which I've done that, and tried to ride like I had some real knowledge when I didn't, right? So when you're riding, you got to assess your ride. Are you a beginner, or are you an experienced rider, or are you someone who can really get out here and pound it down and grab slab, right? Those are important things, right? Define your riding style. Are you a commuter, right? Are you going to be someone who's just doing cruising and bar hopping, things of that nature? There are different bikes for those type of things, and you don't necessarily need a giant bike for that, right? Harley and Indian and Yamaha and Honda, they provide very good different bikes that you can jump on for those type of events. Riding on a giant bike can be cumbersome if you're not used to being on that kind of ride. So you just got to be careful, right? What you choose. Consider your ergonomics, right? Your fit, your handlebars. What I've learned, I was talking about, I was mad at Harley initially, back in, a couple of videos back, maybe a few videos back, because I felt like, man, I bought this Harley and everything, I got to do everything to it, right? And then I'm learning now, it really doesn't matter what bike you get, you're going to customize. You're going to customize, right? So I'm not mad at Harley anymore for that. However, I still prefer my Indian, right? But I realized that when you do upgrades or configurations to your bike, it's a matter of preference and a matter of fit and making it comfortable to you. The bike comes to you kind of like a shell with the basic needs of what you need. And it doesn't even matter what kind of bike you get. You can get a CVO down to the Indian Elite, up to the Indian Elite, down to Indian Scout, right? You're gonna do some modifications to it, right? So consider your weight, consider the weight of the bike, consider your muscle strength. You need to work out if you're gonna ride, because there's going to be a time you're going to have to lift this bike up. So consider those things when you're dealing with purchasing a bike, right? Also, set your budget. Man, I don't know how many times I got to talk about this. I talk about this a couple times already in the last couple months. Riding is an expensive hobby, right? And if life happens, yeah, you got to make some decisions and set priorities. But life can happen, and you got to set your budget, right? You could pay anywhere from $800 to $200 a month for a motorcycle, right? So, just like a car note. And then you got to consider your insurance and things like that. So just know that certain brands have a name and they carry a lot of weight. Certain brands come with a particular culture. So you're going to have to deal with that, hanging out and things like that. And, it's really important to know that budget can really affect how you ride and where, when, and, you don't want to buy a bike and sitting in the garage 12 months later, you only got 200 miles on it. That doesn't even make sense, especially when you got a 500-mile break-in on most bikes, right? Also, number 6, test ride. If you're able to find a place that allows you to test ride. And, get out there and figure out how easy it is for you to bust a U-turn or bust a circle. The bike's way different and they swing different to different people. So consider that. And also number 7, my last one, remember the community and lifestyle. What do you want to do? Are you part of the 99% culture? Are you part of the 1% culture? Are you, are you just a rider? Are you just some weekend warrior, white rider? Figure out what you're going to ride, because what's the point of buying a huge bike with a lot of features and you're only going to ride it once a month, right? If you're just looking to get out, think about the culture you're trying to be in, the community you're trying to be in. Everyone has their own lane, right? And so you just got to think about those things. And number 8, I'm gonna give you, my bonus, ride for you, right? Are you riding for you, or are you riding for someone else, right? Are you riding just to be a part of the clique? Ride for you. Let me tell you something. There's a lot of mental health and emotional health benefits to riding. The freedom, I don't care if you join a club. I don't care if you're in in a riding group. I don't care what you do, right? But however you do it, ride for you. And, so those are my 8 steps to, choosing the perfect motorcycle for you. Just remember, this riding culture is for everyone, right? But not everybody's for the riding culture. So if you're not sure about riding, definitely, take an MSF course. Harley Davidson has an excellent program. I did it. They have I think I have a 3-step program over there, intermediate and advanced as well. So they have beginners, intermediate, and advanced. I plan on taking their intermediate and going over there so I can learn how to do that. They even have a trike course, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. At least the one here in Savannah on the Coastal Empire does. So just consider those are things that you might want to look into prior to buying your motorcycle. Listen, it's your boy Bike Life Commander. If you got a bike in your garage collecting dust, pull it out, dust it off, gas it up, and enjoy the ride.
I guess that's life in the big city, huh? They said there's no rest for us. Won't you hit this road with me, shawty? You can stand up in the sunroof, let your head down, let the wind hit your face, and just breathe, breathe, breathe.
Everything, but everything was never enough.